So, on to the next speaker, and she's got quite the background. Let me bring her up into the spotlight. Hey,
Hey.
so welcome everybody. Welcome Jessica Adanich. Jessica's got so much going on, and just really, she's got it all going on. So really excited to have her here talking about a very important topic. And I'm not going to steal any of her thunder, but just welcome her. Keep an open mind, and this, I know what she is saying is going to hit every single one of us. That we've all been through something. That she's going to be talking about tonight. So, Jessica, thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing, and take. Yeah, go ahead. It's all yours. It's all yours.
Hey, well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And Joe, that was fantastic. That's a hard act to follow. You actually helped me. I'm going to be talking about depression and anxiety, and I actually got to calm down a little bit. So thank you for that. But thank you, everyone, for coming here today, this evening, for sharing your night with us. My session is called F That Self-Doubt, You're a Badass. And so if you know me, you know that I'm really about professionalism, so I had to do this Zoom background, but it's also kind of to set up my presentation. It's, I think in our world right now, 2020, especially COVID and technology, we have this habit, especially as creatives, to compare ourselves to others. You can put whatever you want out on the internet and people think that that's how your real life is. But in reality, I'm actually sitting in my small apartment. That is my kitchen behind me. And I'm actually in my dining room office area. And to do this presentation, I just wanted to come to you guys real as me. One disclaimer, I am not a doctor. I went to art school. So everything that I'm going to be speaking about is coming from my own personal experience. Do not take any of this as medical advice. It's just one female who's been through a shit ton of counseling, a lot of ups and downs, and I hope that my story, which I'm going to share first, can help you, or at least give you some maybe hope and help that you are not alone if you are struggling, and that whenever you look at someone else out there, it's not what you think. You never know what someone else is going through. So with that, I will bring up my PowerPoint, because of course I did a PowerPoint. That's not my PowerPoint. LinkedIn. Okay, here we go. So first off, I wanted to share with you guys a little bit about myself. And I am, of course, there we go. So if you may or may not know me, I am a graphic designer. I have my own studio called Design Pod Studio. And then on the side of that, I also have a product type company organization called Fuzzy Sharks, where it's all about creating artwork that teaches people about ocean conservation. And I am really big on social media. I do a lot of posting and sharing of photos, and just like anybody else, I share the good times. But at the end of the day, I struggle with depression and anxiety. And literally, I'm going to be talking about my life, and I made notes about my own life, which is crazy. But I wanted to basically start off with just giving the highlights of my background. I know that everybody has a story. Everybody's had bad things happen to them. And when we're born, we come out and we have this lust and love for life and this untainted vision of the world and ourselves. And then unfortunately, as we grow up, we lose that. We lose the ability to love ourselves the way that others do. We lose the ability to see things stressless, and we get tainted. And so that happens to everybody. But this is my story, and people have told me that by sharing my story, it has helped them. So I hope that hopefully can help you. And then we will also get to things that can help you, things that I do during my daily life that has helped me deal with my depression and anxiety. I've come to terms with the fact that this is who I am, and I'm just gonna have these things that they're part of me. I'm gonna deal with them the rest of my life. So starting off as mini Jess, I was overweight from the very beginning. During daycare and before preschool, I was teased, I was bullied. I was pinched and told I was too fat to play with the toys. So right out the gate, society and life told me that because of the way I looked, I wasn't good enough. And that kind of, that started off doing damage, obviously. My parents were so incredibly loving. I grew up in a very, very loving home, but as you know, other kids can be mean. And I can't even imagine today what children are growing up with now, because bullying is a huge issue in our society. No longer can people just tease you to your face. Now they're doing it via your phone, your computer, your tablet. They're getting into your actual private life. But for me, it was right there, in my face, on the school bus, in the classroom. And it really did shape me. When I went into junior high, I actually ended up really diving into my schoolwork. I did more extra credit past the extra credit. I think that's when I started thinking that if I really excelled at my academics, that maybe it would make up for my lack of appearance. So going into high school, I ended up overdoing it. I joined anything and everything I could. I was the president of the National Honor Society. I was co-editor of the yearbook. I even went to yearbook camp, because yes, that's a thing. I was on stage crew. I was in theater. I was in choir. I was on student council, senior advisory board. I did a shit ton. I was basically at school from 7 a.m. until 9, 10 o'clock at night. My study hall, I actually said, hey, instead of having a study hall, let me take another class. I tried to do that with my lunch, but apparently there's rules against that. They wouldn't let me do it. I was also in a vocational, and that took us to, we did competition for graphic design. So we went to regional, local, state, and national for that. At the end of senior year, because I was doing all of this, on top of this, I also started restricting my food, because I thought that, okay, even though I was thin, which looking back at these pictures, I think, holy crap, was I thin? But at that time, I wasn't thin enough. I wasn't thin compared to the other females around me in my class and that I was seeing in pop culture and on TV. But to me, it was like, okay, if I skip meals, or I'll tell my parents I'm gonna eat with my friends, and then I eat with my friends, and I tell them, oh no, I'm not gonna eat, I ate with my parents. It was that game. It was that out of my life, I felt like I had no control, but it was a way to have control by restricting my food. And so obviously you pack on doing all those things and restricting your food. I graduated, and then I got mono and I was in the hospital for 3 days. And actually putting together this PowerPoint, it gave me some time to actually reflect on where I am now, and to put some pieces together, but which is really, and I'll get to that, but it's amazing how life takes you certain places. So I ended up going to the Cleveland Institute of Art, and at that time I was in the 5-year program. I was actually the last year of the 5-year program, and I went there to do automotive design, because I thought that doing automotive would be cool, because obviously when you tell people that you're going to design cars, that's super badass, right? Like, people look at you like you're cool. And clearly I had a complex about not being one of the cool kids. So I thought that that's what I should do. So I got to CIA, and I ended up, this is Barbara Kruger's work. She's an artist, and she's a graphic designer, and she uses words and imagery to really get some hard-hitting points across. And when I got to college, I was still restricting my food. I actually incorporated purging. So I was trying to battle with finding myself as a person, finding myself as an artist. And as you guys know, as artists, we compare ourselves. You not only do you compare yourself to others for everything that you are as a human being, but actually your artwork. You put something up there and automatically like, well, mine's not as good as this other kid's. And, well, I should be better. I should be working harder. I should be better at drawing. And that's not the way it is. We all excel in certain areas. And at the time, my painting teacher told me that he didn't know how I got into CIA, because I painted so badly. Not gonna lie, he was right. I'm not a great painter. But design class, I kicked ass. But so I put these Barbara Kruger pieces up because this is an area that I really, as a young artist, was trying to work on. And so these are 2 pieces that I did early on at CIA. And I show them because this was an area I feel that as an artist, I could have gone, but there's almost like the irony of it's very strong, because I was talking about all these images and or these ideas and coming out saying, you know, hey, if I'm a strong woman and I want a career and a family, like, so that makes me a bitch. And, you know, we have this pop culture thing, so magazines are really lying to us on the cover. But inside, I was still dealing with it. Like, I was faking it, you know, fake it till you make it. And I didn't go this direction with my art because I didn't feel that I could. And I see that looking back on my life, that there's a lot of things that I wanted to do, but I didn't do because I didn't have the confidence in myself. So then after 2 years foundation, I went into industrial design, and then I ended up realizing that I hated it, and it wasn't me, and something in my gut was telling me that I needed to switch to sculpture. And I show these pictures because I look back on them and I'm like, holy shit, was I thin. It's amazing how we see ourselves one way, but in that moment we don't see the actual reality. But I ended up starting my shark artwork, and even then I was, you know, as an artist making bad artwork, I was comparing myself to other people, thinking, you know, what if I, you know, did design work, or I should live in New York because that's what all artists do, and when I graduate, that's where I should go. But none of those things are what I actually really wanted to do. At this time, early on, well, probably mid-range, my friends at the time were saying, you know, Jess, you really are sad. And every day you say tomorrow's going to be better. And the next day wasn't getting any better. And I ended up going to case counseling, because CIA and case actually shared that department. And I started counseling for the very first time. And I ended up getting on antidepressants. And you know, being in college, I was on a heavy dose of antidepressants. I was drinking, I wasn't eating, because that's a really good healthy mix. It's not, fun fact. I also did group counseling. I was doing everything that I could to try to help this deep sadness that I had. Then I continued on, and this is actually from my senior year. This is my senior thesis with my fuzzy sharks, but I was still really struggling with the depression, and I knew that the end of the year was coming, graduation was coming, and my goal was to move to the water. You know, if you're gonna work on sharks, like the whole point of working on conservation for sharks, it's better probably to be by where they live, and Lake Erie has no sharks. So I tried to apply for jobs out of state, and that didn't happen. It was 2009, the economy had crashed, and basically no one was saying we're going to hire someone out of state, and if they did, they're going to have you relocate, you know, pay for that for yourself. And at that time, I didn't have the confidence or the balls to move away from everything that I had known and the people that I loved and that cared about me. Looking back on that now, I think that was a huge life-saving thing, because after that I graduated and I ended up moving back in with my parents, and my healthcare that I was on would no longer cover my antidepressants, and I had to get off of them. And I know there's a few nurses on here. If you get off of antidepressants, or really any medication that's like that, you need to downstep. And I ended up downstepping some very high antidepressants within like 2 weeks. And that process was horrifying. My suicidal ideations were very, very heavy. My parents were very fearful that I was going to do something. And it was a bad time in my life. I'm very grateful that my parents were there for me, because I think that had I not had a loving, supporting system, I might not be. So I moved back in with them, and I started this line of artwork, which is really ironic as I was putting this presentation together, because I wanted to make work about the strong female. You know, we have these pinup girls of the classic age, and they were always, you know, vacuuming, lingerie. That wasn't reality. Like, they were working and building war machines. And so I thought, let's do a contemporary line of pinups. And now I'm like, why did I make them anorexic looking? Like, I also am adding to this system in our culture that portrays that women have to look this certain way. But I started this line of work, and I was still trying to find my place in the career world. and I ended up starting counseling again. So I was off meds, I started counseling. I bounced around to a few different counselors, but I went to a new counselor, and she was probably the fifth one that I had gone to. And she really is the one that made the biggest difference for me. At that time, being me, I ended up making my own journal. And it's the one with the casting all your anxieties on him. I ended up using this site called Blurb, and I designed my own journal that would help me in terms of changing my negative thinking to positive thinking. In working with her, we had talked a lot about how the human brain can basically, the more that you write something, the more you practice it, you can reform those roadways, if you will, in your brain and change them to be positive. And she had then said, you know, this is really good. Have you thought about maybe doing it and publishing it for other people? So the version on the right, because I'm 34 and I still have to say ready, tighty, loosey, lefty, is what I ended up first publishing. I ended up doing that, and then I ended up landing this really, really great job at Mace, the pepper spray company. And I worked there for 6 years running their marketing design department. And throughout my time there, I was just on a roller coaster through life. I was on and off meds, trying to just really deal with my depression and my anxiety. I got to the point where I would go to work in the morning and I literally would have nighty-night tea for breakfast because my anxiety was just so bad. There were times that the suicidal ideations came through really strong again. And so it was back in counseling and trying to figure out what would work and really utilizing my support system. And being an artist in the world, it was like, I need to constantly remind myself that I am not my artwork. You know, if I'm working for a company and I'm designing something and someone says they don't like it, that doesn't mean that they don't like me. They just don't like, you know, they might not like the font, or maybe they just hate the color red. So that was a growing period. So during that time, I ended up actually republishing Journal Plus. And that was when I realized that if I was going to do it, I need to go big or go home. Like, no more trying to publish a book and sell it without actually telling my story and saying, hey, I'm Jess and I have depression. It's part of my life. It doesn't fully define me, but I have it. And that's when I started doing some radio shows and book events. And I actually met Jim Cermak for the very first time at the Berea Arts Festival. We were at the same book signing, which was really, really great. But looking back, I was doing all this and I still wasn't happy. I still was having really, I would say, hardcore bad time with my depression. And anything that I did really wasn't working. I feel like I was fighting against the grain of my life. So about 2017, I realized that I was nearing 30 and I still had not gotten scuba certified. And I put it off because that fat girl that I thought I was when I was younger, I had now become that because of the anorexia and the bulimia. I had killed my metabolism. So when I did eat, I just absorbed all of it. So I now was overweight, and who wants to be overweight, insecure, have anxiety and depression and put themselves in a wetsuit? Like, no one wants like full body control pantyhose in public. But I sucked it up. Something came over me. I was like, I need to do this because I don't want to get to my deathbed and realize that I didn't do this. And I think that that's what really started this snowball of things in my life of, you know, I was walking with a new friend recently, and she's like, yeah, you know, looking back in your life, you did kind of blow it up. And I was like, yeah, I blew up my life so I could live the life that I wanted to. I realized that after doing the scuba diving, I got certified. And in this photo, you can actually see my dive watch. I'm deep dive certified, so I've actually dove to 130 feet. And it did not come easy for me. That trip, I actually came back and almost sold all of my gear because it was not a great trip. I actually had a panic attack underwater on one of my dives. And that was the last thing I ever wanted. You know, this was a dream come true for me, and I really wanted to have it be successful. But once again, I was comparing myself to every one of those other divers. You know, somebody who has 100 dives under their belt, I wanted to be like them and I needed to be like them. But I came back and I stuck with it. long story short, later that year, I decided that Mace wasn't going the direction that I wanted, and I decided very quickly, I would say, to resign from my executive position and start my own company. And that's where Design Pod came from. I started realizing that I was doing all these things for other people and comparing myself to other people about what their life was like. You know, people were getting married, they were buying houses, they were having kids. And I was trying to keep up with the Robinsons, as you will. And that wasn't me. That's not what I wanted. And so quit my job, started my own company. And then the next year I ended up, some of you know, I ended up moving to Tampa Bay, Florida. And that is where I am now. It was a very quick decision again, but I think that in my mind, subconsciously, I had gotten to that breaking point where I was very, very fearful that if I didn't do something that I might not make it to 35 or 40. I just wasn't, I wasn't happy, and I couldn't do it anymore. And many people in my life said, you know, Jess, are you running away? What are you doing? This is a big decision. Like, you're going to a city that you don't know anyone, like you've never moved away from home. Like, are you crazy? And I just said, no, like, you have to trust me. I have to, like, in my gut, I need to. So that is where I am today. And I am happy to say that for me, I'm actually have been off of depressants and medication for close to 2 years. And I am the happiest I've ever been. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect, because I'm not gonna lie. COVID, I've definitely been probably crying at least once a day. Like, I see a commercial and I cry, but who hasn't? It's kind of what 2020 has given us. But I'm no longer in that scary spot of, you know, what is tomorrow going to bring, and am I going to make it to tomorrow? So with that, does anybody have any questions before I go into the next section? Okay, I don't think any.
Can you see the chat? Are you reading the chat, or?
I am not. I do not have the chat.
Yeah, I don't think there's any questions, but here, let me scroll back up. People are just saying, you know, Ruth said you're beautiful. Carrie Esser, yes, she remembers insane amount of comparison, always a battle to push past that. Karen says you needed your support system.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people love it. Karen also said neuroplasticity.
Yes, that's what it is. That's what it is.
There you go. There you go. Journal. Deb says the Journal Plus is so inspirational. Appreciate the artwork and layout, and it so works. I said righty-tighty because that's me still today. 50, however old I am, I'm still saying lefty-loosey, righty-tighty.
Right? Like, I have to. And I'm not afraid to, once again, admit it. Like, it's just, you know, awesome. Well, I'm so glad everyone's enjoying it. I share my story because I want people to understand that when you see someone, I think that in our world, especially when it comes to artists, if you look back through history, you know, Picasso, Van Gogh, you look at recent individuals that are music artists or actors, comedians, we've lost a lot of really, really great, amazing talent to suicide and depression. And there's actually a book, which I recommend. It's called The Van Gogh Blues. And there's been some studies done, not a lot, on the correlation and connection between depression and creativity. That the creative mind, someone who uses that side of the brain, their happiness and their fulfillment comes from the act of creating. And I think that for me, my whole life, I just wanted to create, but I was creating and not feeling fulfilled because I didn't find my spot. And I felt like my spot would be judged, and that I needed to do what society thought was cool, trendy, or what I should do. And now, F that noise. I have a degree in sculpture. I'm not a marine biologist by any means, and I don't even know if I went to marine biology school if I would actually pass the classes, because I can't say scientific biology shark names to save my life, but I love them, and it's my passion. So if anybody tells me that I shouldn't do it, they can kiss my butt. So going into our next section, and I'll go through this stuff pretty quickly, because these are things that I know that all of you probably know, but I think that it's good to recap them before I jump into the few things that I'm going to recommend that you guys start incorporating into your daily life. The first one is obviously stop comparing yourself to others. I've been talking about this the entire presentation. It's a lot easier said than done. I will admit that this year during COVID, I've had a real problem with it. I'm constantly comparing myself to friends that are thinner than me. We'll go out and, you know, if people don't talk to me or they ignore me, I'm like, oh, it's because I'm fat. Like, it's that automatic thought. I'm constantly thinking when I'm designing, is this good enough? Should I even have a company? Like, but you have to push through that. So one of my tips is that when you start comparing yourself to others, remind yourself that people love you for who you are. And the minute that you start trying to be someone that you're not, no one likes that. People like authenticity, and they know when you're being a fraud. Let's face it, we have a lot of frauds. Social media and technology has made it really, really easy for people to be fake and be someone else. And there's enough people in the world trying to be somebody else. So those are already taken. Be yourself. Next one is stop feeling that you aren't good enough. I do this a lot as well. I'm just going to say this right off the bat. These 5 things that I'm talking about, I'm not a master at. And I don't think anyone is. But as I think a creative, we constantly do this, that we aren't good enough at our trade, that there's always someone better than us. There's someone that could do it faster, easier, it would look better. But no one's going to do it exactly the way you're going to do it. And that's what makes it great, and that's what makes it special, and why you should do it. My pro tip for this is make a list of all the things that you could kick ass at and post it somewhere that you see often, whether it's in front of your desk, the cabinet in the bathroom where you have your toothbrush, or just like next to, you know, on the kitchen counter, somewhere that you can read over those things. And I'll come back to this a little bit later, but it is important to have an area where you have those positive things. So when you're feeling low, you can bring it out and, you know, kind of go over, okay, I am freaking awesome. Number 3, and I'll explain these pictures because, so stop negative filtering. I am terrible at this. Obviously, I keep saying that about all of these, but the pictures are a very good recent example because I was sewing a piece of art and I thought, okay, this is really super great. I'm going to sew the sea turtle out of plastic bags because there's this huge problem in the oceans where turtles are actually ingesting plastic bags and we use too much plastic, but they think that they're jellyfish. So I'm going to make this like piece about, you know, don't use plastic. And that's what happened. Like his head looks like a penis. Like he looks awful. And I finished him and I just lost my shit. Like I called my parents and I was like, I'm the worst. I suck at sewing. Like I'm such a piece of shit. And when I do that, my parents are like, okay, you need to lock it up because none of this stuff that you're saying is true about yourself. So you need to change that narrative. So I obviously threw him out because no one should have that in their house anywhere. And I ended up meeting up with friends for dinner and I came back the next day and I did a good sea turtle. So I wanted to say that, you know, for this one, talk and treat yourself like you would talk to a loved one. One of my good friends from college, anytime that I would talk shit about myself, she would say, stop being mean to my friend. And I constantly remember that because when you are being negative about yourself, you're actually being mean about, you're actually insulting those that love you, essentially. And that's not good. It's not fair to yourself. It's not fair to those that love you because you are an amazing person and there's people that love you. And so you wouldn't talk to people that you love that way. So why talk to yourself that way? So yes, there's my sea turtle. The 4th one, stop worrying what others think. I lived the majority of my life worrying what others would think about the decisions I made, what I was doing with my career, what I wore, what I said. There's times that I lay in bed at night where I finish a conversation on the phone and I feel like, well, should I call that person back? Like that ended kind of funny and I overthink it to death. We need to stop worrying about what others think, especially when it comes to our artwork. There's so much artwork in the world. And that's the great thing about art is that art is 2 + orange = pineapple. Like there's no math to it. There's no right, there's no wrong. So when someone gives you feedback, take healthy feedback and advice and trash the rest. And if someone's going to be mean or negative, don't listen to them at all, because sometimes when someone's being mean and negative, they're just doing that because they're a bully, or they're very unhappy themselves in their life. So my pro tip for this is to make a worry log. I've actually done this, and sometimes I use the app in my phone. I love the Notes app. I use that for a lot of things. But a worry log is really great because it allows you to get all of those worries out on a piece of paper. You leave them there, you're getting it out of your brain, but then you can also give some time, reflect on it later, and sometimes you'll know, like, okay, why was I worried about that? I didn't even need to worry about it. You know, that situation ended up fine, or I had a solution, I just needed to wait. All of those things. We put a lot of energy into worrying when we don't necessarily need to. Number 5, stop feeling guilty for whatever reason, because Lord knows I have enough guilt to fill the ocean. It's something that I struggle with. I feel guilty about something that I did in the 3rd grade. I feel guilty about stuff that I've said to my parents, that the way something I said to Zoe last week. And all that's doing is wasting time. It robs time. And so my pro tip for this is that obviously guilt is a human emotion. And when you start to feel overwhelmed by them, do an activity. Go for a walk, read a book, change that mental thought. Because the more that you start dwelling on that, the more that it festers and grows. And it's like a disease, like COVID. So just switch your train of thinking. And there's a lot of resources out there on guilt. And if I could master how to stop feeling guilty, I would be able to pay off my student loan debt and be a millionaire, but would be able to help a lot of people. This I have not done, but it is, once again, just like changing negative thinking to positive thinking. It's a practice, because at the end of the day, the past is the past. And if we live in the past, we are not in our present, and we're ruining our future. So now I had to do this slide because my last section is 3 ways to start doing. And this is Zoe, my dog, and she had an orange ball, and it just was super cute. And I thought, why not use it? Because I can. It's my PowerPoint. So our first thing to start doing to help with these bad things that we're doing is happy Post-its. I love Post-its. I just bought a 12-pack of Post-its, and I'm so excited because they're the interchangeable ones. Like, one's orange, one's pink, and then it goes back and forth, which is a little thing, nerdy thing. But I love Post-its. I have them everywhere. And these ones I have in front of my desk, literally right in front of me, and I see them every single day, and I read them. Often I'll put Post-its next to my toothbrush, next to my bed, things that you can do and put around the house where you're going to see them, that you can read them. And you start reading those positive thoughts to yourself, because the more that you read them, the more that you'll believe them. Fake it till you make it. And then it will become a true belief. It will become something that you're like, yeah, no, I am enough. I am badass. Then the next one is journaling. I could talk forevs about journaling because I love it. You can see that large picture there. I have a crap ton of journals. I have a problem. I love paper, and I like it when it's combined in a binded book. This one right here is actually a waterproof journal. It's called Write in the Rain, and if you follow me on my Fuzzy Shark channel, I actually did a video about this the other day. But I like journals for all sorts of reasons. Journaling is great because you're literally, once again, like that worry log, you're taking a physical action of writing, and you're getting it out of your brain, out of your body, and you're putting it on paper. And it's amazing how that physical action can be very releasing. So I have one of these in my shower, so that when I'm showering and I'm stressed out about my day and I'm thinking, okay, I have to go to the grocery store, I have to do this, I have to do this, like in the shower, I can just write down everything that I'm stressed about, basically my to-do list, and I get it out of the way. Then I also have this journal, which is my master journal, and I literally just will write, and I write in all sorts of directions, whatever color pen I want. I like multicolor pens, so I have a shit ton of pens, but I have lots of different journals, and you can do this in different ways. You can write it down and keep it, but then there's also people that worry about journaling and having someone find it. If you are in that category, that is totally fine. Journaling should not be something that you are putting off because of that. You should start journaling and then just shred it or burn it. Fall's coming up. sure a lot of you live in a cold weather climate. You can use it for a Friday night bonfire. You don't have to keep it. It's the idea of actually physically writing and getting it out on paper that is the benefit. I like to keep mine right now because sometimes I like to reread over them to see how far I've come. And it is a nice way to log your journey, if you will. Then the last one is a positive journal. Just like I was saying before about logging happy things, I actually started my second year in college. And gosh, is there even a date on this? 06. I started this in 2006. And the professor had said, get a journal, and every class, every week, you have to do at least, I think it was 10 or 20 pages of drawing or research or notes. And so I started doing that, but then it became something where anything positive that happened in my life, I would log it in here. Like in here is the ticket to the first aquarium that I ever visited. In here is my Mace business card, my first business card that had my big title on it, just crazy things, tickets to leadership summits. That's not a picture of a goat. That's a picture to an actual conference. Funny quotes, packaging. When I redesigned the packaging for Mace, I put that in there. So when I am feeling incredibly low and I'm crying and Zoe's like, WTF, I pull this out and I look through it and I'm able to be like, okay, I am an amazing person. I have people that love me. I have great things that I've done in my life, and things are going to be okay. So I highly recommend doing something like this. You can do it, digitally if you want, because some people do like that. I like tangible because I'm just a paper nerd. So those are my 3 things that I recommend. And then lastly, I do have to say this because September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And because I'm talking about all this stuff, I do want to put this information out there for anyone that's on this call or anyone who might know of someone. I think it's really important to know that you are not alone, that there is always someone there for you to talk to, whether it's someone that you know in your immediate circle, friends and family, or even the suicide prevention hotline. And despite COVID, they do still have it open, so it is available. Some things that if you are that low to do is obviously create a support system. That's very, very helpful. The second one is to write down a safety plan, and a safety plan would be that when you are that low and you might have some very dark negative thoughts, you have an action plan, who to call first, second, third, fourth, and so on. And then lastly, never be afraid to use your safety plan. Never be afraid to call someone up. I think that one of the positives, if you can say that, of the shit cloud of 2020 is that we have become a society that's a little bit more understanding and, wanting to check on others that we love. I've had more friends and family and even people that I know saying, yeah, I called so-and-so, I haven't talked to them in a while, but I just want to check on them, because of COVID. I think that that's something that whether we have a pandemic or not, we should do for one another. So that is my last slide. Questions, comments, emotional outburst, any woot woots? I will stop sharing my screen and we can, any questions or comments, we can chat.
Oh my gosh, that was fantastic. We got a few woot woots in here at the end. Oh my gosh. So going back, I know the people were raving about all the Post-its, and Post-its are great. A lot of people have used those. Carrie bought one of the Write in the Rain journals and from your recommendations. And Deb Cheryl wants to know, would you need a waterproof pen to go with that?
Actually, they do sell one on Amazon. It's like $16 or $18, but regular pens do work. So you can use a regular pen or pencil.
Awesome. Let's see. Ruth said gratitude journal. Karen said, what about a gratitude journal? Which that was right before you went into your big honking journal there with all your accomplishments, which I guess that is for you a very physical, because you had a lot of, like you said, ticket stubs and actual products that you worked on and designed, and reminders of what you had accomplished.
Exactly. And you can even do, even if you don't have an actual journal, you can even use 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper where you just write down, once a day, 3 things that you're grateful for. Gratitude is a huge thing that it's really about that words are powerful, whether you think them in your head or you write them. People say, oh, yeah, whatever, but it's true. The more that you tell yourself that you are a piece of shit, the more that you're going to believe that. The more that you tell yourself, no, I'm smart, I'm creative, I'm intelligent, I'm good at my job, I can do this. The more that, even if in the beginning you don't believe it, tell yourself that, because you will start to, with that fancy word that she said before, will begin.
Neuroplasticity.
Yes, that word. to believe it and live it.
That's awesome. Ruth said she uses on her phone pics and screenshots as kind of her gratitude journal. So use your phone, use the technology. That's awesome.
Yes.
Any tips for remembering to journal or to do a daily gratitude?
That's a very good question. You can always set an alarm on your phone. I set alarms for various things, and it is also about getting in a routine. It's hard to, just like when you go on vacation and you're used to getting up at 10 or whatever, and then you have to like go back to work and you have to get back into that routine. I think it's good to find a time of day that you like to journal and that works for your schedule, and you start incorporating it in, because then it just becomes like another thing in your life, like making coffee, putting pants on, taking a shower. It's just another thing that you can do in your life. And actually, Deb, she does teach the class, The Artist's Way, which does talk about the idea of daily journaling.
Is he getting some thumbs up from Joe?
Yeah. Shout out to Jess. I bought the 25th one and also the drawing on the right side of the brain. So I recommend both of these as well.
Fantastic. What about positive affirmations?
Those are very, very, very important. And I think that goes back to, the Post-its. You can do those on Post-its, but defining something, like mine that I have, I'm an artist, a designer, an author, a vlogger. Create a statement for yourself, some positive affirmations that you want to define for your life and the person that you are and the person you want to be. They don't have to be exactly true right now, but something that's healthy and kind of goal setting, that every day that you can read or look at, that can reinforce that positive thinking.
One thing I saw you had written on yours is that you were an influencer in the shark or ocean conservation, which is I love that you put that.
I'm hoping, and I have to give a shout out to Roger for that, because Roger helped inspire that, because that's an area that because I'm blunt and I speak my truth, that I am insecure about. I'm not a marine biologist, but I'm still doing it because I love sharks, and I feel that because of my creative and artistic talent, I have a different angle and a different approach to bring to that field. But I do often feel insecure that, okay, how can I be an influencer when I didn't, I'm not daily on a boat swimming with them. But so thank you, Roger, for giving me that inspiration.
Awesome. Deborah said she wanted to share there's a website called 7 Cups, and you can go on there and talk to someone about anything if you're not as bad as needing to call the suicide prevention hotline, but maybe if you see yourself heading that direction, you can really just talk out any thoughts or problems or relationships stuff with a person there, and it's free of charge. So thank you, Deborah, for putting that there. 7 Cups, remember that. Let's see. Deb Sherrill said thanks for the shout out. And Ruth, Ruth wanted to know if you can hold up the books one more time and tell those 2 books, Artist's Way and. Okay, so The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron and Drawing the Right Side of Your Brain by, who is that? Who's the author of that?
Oh, let me write it. Betty Edwards.
Betty Edwards. There you go. Thank you. Do you have Carrie
Okay,
wants to know. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Carrie wants to know if you have a favorite self love book or a motivational book.
Oh, that's a good question. My library is literally half shark ocean books and the other half self-help books. And that speaks volumes to me. I'll have to get back to you on that because there's a few that I'm working through. I do really like um, I do like this one. And then there's this one's also a very good one, The Mindful Way Through Anxiety. And then this one, I have not finished yet, but it's a really good one.
What's the title of that one?
It's First We Make the Beast Beautiful, A New Journey Through Anxiety. And of course
Nice.
I like it because it's like glitter and there's an octopus on it, but it's also a very good book.
Roger wanted to let you know you are powerful. And
Oh, thank you.
Neil says such a great presentation. Carrie says fabulous, thank you. The Sarah Wilson one looks very pretty.
Yes, it is. It is.
And I'm going to scroll back up and see if there's anything else. But I have to show, if you could see in, I'm just going to make me big for 1 second here so I can show my
Oh
I
my
am
God.
awesome button, which I got years ago when I met Jess at the Berea Art Fair, and we were at a book signing together. We both had our own books, but I had this, and then when we reconnected, we didn't even know we connected, but we reconnected years later, just a few months ago, and I'm like, I have something of hers, and I pulled out the button. So
I love that so much. That makes me so happy. So at that, I ended up at any event that I would do, I had these I am awesome buttons, and anybody who came to my table, they'd have to fill out a post-it and say I am, and then put an awesome statement. I am thoughtful, I am creative, I am intelligent at math or whatever, and then I'd post it up on the board, and then they would get an I am awesome button. So I'm so glad that you still have that. That's really, really happy because
absolutely. Pardon?
you are awesome.
Oh, thank you, Jess. And there's some kudos on your turtles. I'm going back up, so we're going in
Oh,
reverse here.
that's fine. That's fine.
And people loved the fuzzy sharks, and just fantastic. A lot of and a lot of I said, wait, you have a Camaro?
Yeah, we did the one major sin that no one should do to a sports car, and that's put a roof rack on it. So we and I and my very good friend Jen drove down here. It was her and I with Zoe in the back. The trunk was stuffed. There was stuff in the back seat, and then a roof rack with her dog crate, and then my like matte cutting boards. Yeah. I just thank God I have slightly tinted windows because no one could really tell that we were in.
Do you still have pins available? I've several people said I want one of those pins.
Yes, I do. I do have pins left. So I will figure out a way to send out an email, or I'll post in Tuesday at 7, and we'll get some addresses and get those mailed out.
And also, how about your Journal Plus? Is that still available?
Yes, Journal Plus is still available. I'll show you guys the inside. On this book, it's actually, the first rendition I did, there was a shark in it, obviously, because I know that not everybody wants a shark in their journal. But this one does have kind of Christian undertones. It is on every page, there is a Bible verse, but all the rest of it is, what I dreamt about last night, 3 things inspire me today, 3 things I love. But it's a graphic layout that is very easy. It gives you graphic prompts, so you don't have to think about it. You just fill it in. You don't have to fill out everything. When I started doing mine, way back when, like you don't have to fill out everything. It's just, and you don't have to do it every day. You can do it weekly, whatever you want, but it does help when you do practice it daily. But you can get it on Amazon. That was the question. You can get it on Amazon.
So just look up Jess Adanich on Amazon and Journal Plus, and you'll be able to find that. Grab your copy. Um, Julia says, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Incredibly brave of you. Took notes of all your pro tips. And here, I'm going to lead you right into something that you may not want to talk about, but you're going to anyway, because I've got the microphone right now. Ruth said, where can we get a fuzzy shark?
Oh, okay. So fuzzy sharks, you can get them soon. I will be launching, actually, I'll announce here, a little soft announce. I will be announcing a Kickstarter program where I put together a prototype that I have that I'm actually gonna be ordering mini fuzzy sharks. So soon they will be available. Large ones, I only have a few left, but you will be able to get your very own mini, compact, not 9-foot fuzzy shark soon.
Nice. Can't wait for that. Can't wait for that. Some more great affirmations back to you. Karen said, thank you so much for sharing your story. You're a beautiful and strong woman. Neil and Teresa said, love this powerful presentation. This comment is from Teresa. Okay. So Neil did not say that, but Teresa did. So,
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. I hope that it helped some people. I know that, going into this, I actually called my mom beforehand and I was like, does anyone even want to hear about my story? Like, is that even going to matter? But I think that she said to me, it's important to show people that despite what people see online, you see successful people doing their life, but you don't know what's underneath that. And I think it's important for all of us to know that each of us have our own struggles. Each one of you out there in your own living rooms are battling your own demons right now. And that we just should love each other a little bit more and have a little more patience. So, and that's Zoe. She's up from her nap.
Wow, good timing.
Right? Perfect timing.
Any other questions, comments? Ruth said, sweet about the fuzzy sharks. And Ruth just said, can I get a copy of your presentation of do's and don'ts?
Yes, I can send you those.
Awesome. Awesome. And April said, yes, you rocked it. Thank you for being brave and sharing.
Thank you so much. And Roger, thank you for showing the fuzzy shark.
Yeah, share screen with me real quick.
Oh, yeah, here.
So I own a fuzzy shark. And it is a large one, as you can see. Right? And we've got not only the tag, I know this, is it backwards for you or you see it straight? Yeah. And then I've got a own signature by Jess. So I am anxious to be able to buy a smaller one so we could give that away too. But I actually have 3 of Jess's sharks. So I am a shark. I think I might have a shark issue. But thanks, Jess.
Sharkaholic.
Sharkaholic.
Yep. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for spending the evening with us and me. I think that it was really great to spend this night with you, and I'm looking forward to our 9 o'clock after party session. Hear some more from you guys, but I'll hand it to Jim and Roger, and thank you again so very much.
Jess, you are wonderful. You are a gift. You are an absolute gift to all of us, and I know we all got a lot out of that. And you're getting a lot of love from. I see a lot of thumbs up and a lot of hearts coming your way. So thank you so much for sharing so much and giving such great tips. Oh my gosh, just wonderful. I took a bunch of notes. There you go. There's my notes. Not that you could tell, but yeah, those are my notes. So now we are moving into the next part. So we're going to take a 5-minute break. 5-minute break. Everyone, go grab a beverage of choice. And then we're going to come back here, and we've got all of our presenters are here tonight from this week. Roger and I went on Wednesday. We had Neil Zaza and Teresa Rose and Carrie Esser yesterday, and today Joe Jensen and Jess Adanich. We are all here, and so we're here to take questions. We're here to share some new things that we're working on, And we want to hear from you too. We want to find out some of the projects that you're working on, and maybe some collaborations that you're doing, or some things that you'd like to do, and maybe can collaborate with some other people either here tonight or other people in the Tuesday at 7 community. So Roger, anything you want to share? I'm going to give you the spotlight.
Yeah, thank you. So if you would, again, let's figure just I'm looking at my clock here on my computer and it says 8:57. So let's figure like 9:02, 9:03. So bring your own beverage, whether it's a warm beverage or a cold beverage, but don't drink it. Don't drink it. We're going to start off the toast, and we're going to have a communal celebration here. Joe started us off, and so let's continue that as a community here. And so we'll see you guys in, let's say 5 minutes, okay? Don't turn off your screens. Actually, I mean, maybe turn them off and then click them back on. Have your beverage in hand, 9:03.
Sorry, it's Tropical Friday, so I had to play some steel drum music.
I was digging the steel drum. It's good.
All right. So because Teresa, your voice is the first one we heard. What would be your celebration music? If Jim's the steel drums, what would your celebration music be, Teresa?
Oh man, celebration music. It depends on my mood. I'd say a little Billy Joel is always my go-to. I'm celebrating. Only the good die young.
And Neil, while you're there, what is it? But before you say it, everybody type in a comment what you think Neil, don't look at the comments. What you think Neil's go-to music might be.
There you go. No one's going to guess it.
No one is.
I will.
I'm not looking.
Primus, nice.
All right, everybody, if you could jump in and put in your comments really quick. Oh, sorry, Joe Jensen, that was not a private message. That was actually meant for everybody. Mom, I am typing in mine. And
Lizzo, Carrie.
oh.
You never know, Jess.
Celine Dion. All right, I'm
never
looking at
know.
him now.
All right, Neil, what's your go-to?
Listen, it doesn't even matter celebration or not. You can never go wrong with vintage 70s Elton John. Done. That's it. Can never go wrong. That era, done. The 80s and the Lion King stuff, you could forget it. But 70s vintage, yes.
Captain Fantastic was one of my go-tos way back in the day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome.
All right, does everybody have their beverage nearby? I'm going to have to release my green fairy here because I'm going classic absinthe.
Classic abs.
Wow. Where'd you get that?
I've got connections.
What?
All right, so I've got my absinthe spoon, my cube of sugar, and drop it in and give myself a little stir.
Roger, you're a Renaissance man. There's no question.
Yeah. All right, guys. Does everybody have their beverage? You see everyone? I'm going to actually flip over so I can see everybody's faces. All right. Well, folks and creative guides, we appreciate everybody joining in to share their stories, their skills. We're really excited tonight to get to know everybody who's joining in here. What we're going to do is we're going to get to know you. We're glad that you've had a chance to get to know us. We're going to talk about other projects. It's going to be kind of a show and tell. We want people to feel connected, even if we're all in different states and different households. And what we're going to do is continue to maybe talk about collaborations and where folks are at. Hey, Jim, do you mind shutting off the recording?
Absolutely.
Perfect,
All right.
because what we want, what happens at our after hours party